Okay, we will start our discussion on user defined functions. So far, in all the programs we have seen, there was only one function that we are writing. That was the main function. We are writing only one function, and that is mandatory for all C programs. If you want to create the executable file and execute. When this program is executed, the first function that will be called or executed will be the main function, and all the statements we want to execute, or all the actions we want to perform, that will be specified within the main function. And name of the function is predefined. We cannot give our own name. Okay, so if we start giving our own name, something like main underscore, we can probably compile it, but when it is executing, there will be an issue. Yeah, even compiling, I am getting an issue. So yeah, that means it is complaining that the main function is not found because I renamed it to something else. And if I try to compile, it's giving a compilation error saying that the main function is not found. So that means this name we cannot change, but the body of the function, what we write within the curly braces, we are only writing it. So here we perform all the actions we want to do. We ask the user, enter the data, then we process it, we generate the output and display the output. Everything we are doing within the main function. And whenever we wanted something beyond our level, beyond our capacity, like displaying a message onto the screen, what we did is we depended on the built-in functions. So printf function is created by somebody else and provided to us through stdio.h. So we made use of that. So somebody else wrote this function and we made use of it. Somewhere else we use the function sqrt to find the square root of a number, and this one came from math.h, and we made use of, we used scanf function. These are all library functions written or implemented by somebody else and provided to us. But such free gifts are not exhaustive. Sometimes some task that we want to do may not be provided by the header files or the other people who are providing us the header files. Sometimes want to implement our own functions. So that is also possible in C. We can create our own function similar to printf or scanf or sqrt. If some functions are not available there, but in our program if it is required, we can write our own function. Such functions are called user defined function. Here user is the programmer itself. So as a programmer, I can write my own function. Okay. Now once I write a function, I can call that function similar to how we are calling printf function or scanf function or sqrt function. We can call that function. Okay, I will explain practically or demonstrate practically what all things are happening, or how to write a small function and how to call that, and later we go to the theoretical aspects of this. Now when we write a function, this kind of elements will be there. We have to specify what is the return type or return value of that function, then name of that function. Now here my main function is not having any input passed to that, or we call it as the arguments to the function. No arguments are there passed to the function, but in our function when we write, we may have to pass some arguments also. So this brackets parenthesis is used for passing some data into the function. Okay, now I am going to write a similar function, int say hello. Name of the function, I don't want to pass any argument, and finally return 0. So my say hello function looks is very similar to main function. It is not doing anything. it is expected to return an integer value. Because of that, in the body of the function I return an integer value. So this is a very simple user defined function. Okay, so this one is mandatory, it has to be int main and all, but here what to return is my choice. If I want, I can just return float. So return 0 means it will be returning effectively 0.0 or any other floating point value I can return. It can be a char, a single character, it can be a double. Okay, when we write our own function, we have the liberty to decide what is the return value. Now if you don't want to return anything, you put void and remove this. Okay, so when you specify void, that what you imply is this function, as a result of this function, no values are returned. Normally a single value we can return, here no values are returned. That is the implication of void. So we studied void data type. The actual use of void data type comes here to specify a function returns nothing. If the function has to return integer, you specify integer, and in the return statement, wherever you are specifying within this function, this opening brace and or closing brace, it's a boundary specification. The body of the function is decided by this opening curly brace and closing curly brace. So when I want to return, I can return any value. Now I have written a very simple user defined function. Why it is user defined? We decided what is the return value, we decided what is the name, we decided what should be the arguments to that function, and we are going to decide what should be the body. Everything we are deciding. That's why it is user defined function. Now I have to do something, right? Here it is not doing anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a printf in our function. Also user defined function also we can call the library functions. So here I am going to display the message hello world. Okay, similar to whatever we do in our main function, all those things we can do within the user defined function also. So I am going to print hello world. Okay, now I can compile this program. There is no compilation error. I can execute this program. What can be the output of this program? Can anyone tell? What will be the output of this program? Nothing. This will be displayed by the system for every program. This program did not display any message, even though I wrote a user defined function to display hello world message onto the screen. When I executed, nothing happened. Can anyone tell why it did not display any message or whatever I expected to do? Can anyone tell? I created a user defined function and I am putting some statement here, executable statement, print hello world, print of hello world. Can anyone tell? Are you guys there? Okay, yeah, tell me.
So you haven't taken the scanf?
No, displaying message, we are not planning to take any input from the user. Simply a hello basic program. When we had started our course, first program was here putting one hello world. No necessary that scanf is required. So this function is supposed to print hello world onto the screen. Okay, but it did not do. Why?
So
Because
you have declared int say hello, but you have typed as hello world, so it didn't.
no, this is a message. Whatever you put in within this double quotes should be displayed. Irrespective of, see, previously I will take this out and I will put it here. I will compile it. I will run it. So main is my function. What I am displaying in double quotes, whatever you specify, that will be displayed irrespective of the name of the function. Here name of the function is main. But when I do here, it is not calling. It is not executing. The reason is that whenever you execute a program, only main function will be executed. And in my main function, there is nothing. When you execute a program, main function is a mandatory function. And in my main function, there is nothing. So when I put that hello world statement here, it was displaying, right? This you should clearly understand. When I put hello world statement here and I compiled it and executed it, hello world message is coming. Because only main function is executed when you run the program. Now what is the use of writing my own function? So this also has to be executed, right? The reason is only main function is executed, and when you are writing a function of your own, if that has to be executed, you have to call that function from your main. So what you need to do is similar to printf. Printf is a function written by somebody else. We are passing one argument which is a string to that. That will be whatever you pass will be displayed onto the screen. Here when you create a function, you have to call that function. Say hello. The name of the function is that. Since it doesn't take any value, you don't need to pass any value here. So when you call that, then only that function will be executed. Otherwise, whatever you write within this main function, only that will be executed. So now what I have done, I have written my own function, implemented my own function, and I am calling that function. Calling means invoking that function or triggering that function. So if you write your own function, you have to invoke that function within the main function, because whenever you run the program, only main will be executed. Now what you do, you compile it, you execute it, you get hello world. Because here I am calling that function. When I am calling that function, this body of this function will be executed. So what we were doing was, we are not calling that function, we just commented it. When you do that, that function will not be called. That means this statement will not be executed. We don't get say hello. Okay. Now we can write any number of functions. Like say hello. If I want to find factorial, I can write int factorial. If I want to do something else, string compare function I want to write, I can write a string compare function of my own and I can call here. Now one advantage of creating this print hello world I can do here only. I can print here only, but I am implementing it as a separate function, my own function, and I am with my own name preference, and I am calling that function. Once I create that, I can call that function any number of times. So a function you are writing is a reusable entity, reusable thing. How many times you want to call that function? That many times it will be executed. So I am calling the function 5 times here. So what will be the outcome? If I write that, if I execute it, I get hello world 5 times. Okay. So this is the basic idea. We write our own function similar to main function, and if that function has to be executed, you have to call that function from your main function. Okay. Now my function is not taking any argument input. Okay. Now we will write another function which will do little more useful thing. So this function, so since it is not returning like it is just printing a value and printing a message, and this return 0 is not necessary. Actually I can even put it as void. In that case, instead of return 0, I will simply specify return. In that case also, because this function simply displays a message hello world, it is not expected to return anything, so I specify that function does not return anything. So here I will not specify any value, simply return semicolon. This is also fine. Now I want to write a function to do something useful. Suppose add two numbers. We'll go back to our basics. We want to add two numbers and return the sum. Return the sum of two numbers. Okay. So since that function has to assume that we are writing a function to add two integers, and the result of the addition of two integers will be an integer. So return type I am specifying. I will give my own name, add. There is no library function named as add. I am writing my own function. Now if I want, now I have to provide input to this function. Some input is needed. So if I am expecting to add two integers, I have to specify what are the inputs to that function. So how I specify two integers are the input to that function is this way: int x comma int y. So here no input to the function or no arguments to the function, so we left it empty, this parenthesis. Here I want to pass two integers, so I specify int x. Some name I'll give for that arguments. So it indicates an integer variable is first. This is one integer variable to be passed to the function. This is another integer variable to be passed to the function. Now I will start the body of the function. Here what I should do, I got two inputs. I want to add them and return the sum. Return the result or sum of those two numbers. For that what I will do is, I will create whatever we do in main function, same thing I can do here. So I need a variable now to store the sum. So I will create a variable. Now I want to add those two input values. These variables will be having some value when it is executed. When this function is called, these variables will be having some values. Okay. So what I am assuming that the some numbers I want to add, they are stored in the variables x and y. So what should be the statement I should give? Sum is equal to x plus y. Now I got the result of addition of x and y in sum. Now what I should do? If I want to return that result value to a function that calls it. So here say hello is called by main. Main function calls say hello. Since it is not returning any value, no issue. It will simply execute the function and nothing is returned. Now here what I need to do is, I want to return the result of this operation. So what I will do is return sum. So far we did return 0, return 1, etc. But you can return a variable also. When you return a variable, the value stored in that variable will be returned. Value stored in that variable will be returned. Where it will be where it will be returned. It will be returned to the place where this function is called. This function is called. But as of now, this function is not called from anywhere. Say hello is called from main. But unfortunately, say hello is not returning anything. It will perform the action and return no values. In this case, what we are doing is, we are performing some operation. The result of that operation we want to give back to the place where it is called. Since it is not called from anywhere, if I compile and execute, nothing will happen. Hello world is there because of say hello. Say hello is there, that is called that, and this is executed. Because of that, this is printed, this message is printed. But this function, even though we wrote this function and it is syntactically correct, that is why it is compiling successfully, but it is not called from anywhere. Now if I want to call that function, I can call it from here. Add What are the inputs to this function? Two integers, two integer values. So what I'll do is I'll pass two values to that function, 4 comma 5. So I'm calling the function. I wrote a function, now I'm calling the function. So if I execute this, what will happen? Again hello world is coming. This time this function is executed. This function is executed, but I don't see any effect of that. I don't see any effect of that because there is no display message here. When this function executed or after that a function is executed, there is no display message. So on the screen we don't get anything. Ideally what we need, I want to print the result of that addition operation. So to prove that this function is executed, I am putting a statement here. I am in add. Okay, I am putting a statement here. Now I will compile and execute. I am in add. That means this function is now executed, because that's why this statement is executed. This statement executed means all the statements are executed, but only display message will come on the screen. That is why I am in add is coming. So this function is definitely executed. Suppose I am commenting out this, and again I am compiling and executing. Only hello world is coming. Why? Because we did not call that function. Commenting out means this is a comment. This is not a valid statement. It is a comment description. So this code will not be executed, or it's as good as removing that. So that function is not called. That's why I am in add is not coming. Now when I am calling, I get that message because add function is called from main. So whenever you write a function, if you are not calling it from main, that function will not be executed. When you are calling it from main, that will be executed. Okay. Now again, I am finding the sum. I am returning that sum. Where it will go? It will go to the place where the function is called. Okay. So after the function call, it is as good as the statement is removed and the sum value is placed here. It is as good as putting the sum value here. Secretly it will go and execute, and the sum is computed, and that it is returned to this place, line number 21. But still we are not finding the sum. Why? Because to find the sum of those two numbers 4 and 5, we need to display the sum. Using a printf statement, we need to display the sum. For that, what we need to do is the return value we should store in a variable and display it. So this will, what I should do is I created a variable s, and I want to store the return value. This will complete the process, except that we are not displaying. Now this is like a mathematical function called y is equal to f of, or z is equal to f of x comma y. This is f, this is z, this is x, arguments x and y. Z equal to f of x comma y. X and y are two constants. Instead of z we have used variable s. F is same as add, or I can put mathematical function. So what happens is this function will be computed or executed, and the result is stored in this z. Here also same thing happens. Add is a function, it's a programmatic function that is executed. We passed two inputs to that function, and using that input some output is computed. That computed output is stored into the variable we are using here. Okay, now what happens is the sum of the input numbers we pass, that is computed here and returned from here, that is stored in variable s. So I can print that using our printf function. The sum is %d. The value is there in s. Now if I execute this, sum is 9, because the variable s has the value 9, which is the sum of 4 and 5. Now if I want to add two other numbers and display the result, I will just repeat that statement with the two other numbers, 10 and 15. So when we execute the program, execution starts from the beginning. First this statement will be executed, then hello, then the function add will be called with 4 and 5, result is stored in s, we display the value. Again add is called with the 10 and 15, result is stored in s. So whatever value stored here, 9 will be overwritten by the new value, and that new value will be displayed here. What do you expect as the output? This is the output. Because of say hello, this message is printed, hello world. Now I have another user defined function, add. I call add with 4 and 5 as the input, the arguments. So and the sum result is computed by this function and stored into variable s, and we are displaying the value of s. Again we are calling add function one more time, passing two other values, and the result is computed by here. The result value is returned, that result value is stored in the variable s, and we print the value. So we get I am in add. Two times I am getting I am in add, because we are calling the function two times. Add here, both times this message will be printed. The only difference is that first time when this function is called, 4 and 5 are the arguments. So x will have the value 4 and y will get the value 5. And when x plus y is found, it is 4 plus 5 exact in fact, and the result is 9. Second time when it is called, 10 and 15 are passed. So 10 will go to variable x. It's as good as putting int x is equal to 10. Okay, and int y. So this 15 will go to y. So now previously x got 4 and y got 5. Now x got 10 and y got 15. And the sum is computed as 25, and that is returned back. And we display it here. Both times this message will be printed. Because every time we call this function, all these statements are executed. Okay. So this is the basics of user defined function. What is a user defined function? We create our own function. We have the liberty to specify the return value, name of the function, and what are the arguments to pass into the function. It's very similar to mathematical function only. So the definition of the function we write what that function has to do. This function does not do anything, simply print a message and return no value, simply return. It returns to the place where this function is called, that means here. Again we have another function, somewhat useful function. It returns an integer value, basically the sum of the input data. The name of the function is add. Two input arguments are there, or we call it as parameters or arguments. So two integer inputs are provided to this function. That function computes the sum of that input variables or input data, and the result is a single value will be returned by this function. So once I have the user defined function, I can call it any number of times. So say hello or add, I can call any number of times with the proper input passed to that. So this much is the basics. So any questions so far? If any question is there, you can ask. So I can step by step execute this and show that what is happening. So what I'll do is how the actual execution flow happens, I can demonstrate here now. So I'll go to debug mode. Since main function will be executing every time, so I'm putting a print breakpoint. Breakpoint is a stoppage. I'm putting a breakpoint here and I'm executing it. Yeah. So it has come here. The declaration, it has executed straight away. Now it is hello. Now when say hello is going to execute, it will go and execute here, right? Actually, in fact, I can go into this function and see that shift, okay, into that function I can see actually how it is going. So now this has to be executed. Instead of F7, I'm going to press shift F7. Now see, I am here. So when say hello is called, the the computer actually goes to the body of that function and executes it. So again I put F7. See, hello world. When this is executed, I get hello world here. Now when return statement is executed, we are coming back to the main function immediately after the function we called. So now the execution is here. Now second function we are calling. When I am executing, it goes into the second function. Now if you go to the watch variables, it is showing the variables in this x and y are variables of add function. It is showing x is 4, y is 5. So whatever I passed here, they are getting stored in x and y. So x is 4, y is 5. Printf message I am doing, I am in add is printed. Then sum will be computed. Sum is equal to x plus 5. I get 9 here. That value will be returned to my statement here. Now I am in main function. I am in main function. See, s is getting the value 9. So whatever sum I computed, when I returned it and assigned to a variable within main function, I am using a variable s here, and the result value is assigned to s. Now I am going to print it here. Sum is 9. Again we are going to call add with two other numbers. Now I am in here this function. Here you see x is equal to 10, y is equal to 15. The exact arguments I passed here. That is getting assigned to x and y respectively. I am in add message is coming here. Sum is equal to x plus 5. So 10 and 15 should get added and I should get 25 in sum. I get 25 here. Then I am returning that value. When I am back, s is getting 25. Then display that message. When we return from main, what happens? The program terminates. The whole program terminates. We are done. This is the complete cycle of executing user-defined function only if they are called from the main function. If they are not called from anywhere, that will not be executed. Okay. So with that, we will stop for today and we'll continue our discussion in the next class. So those who are not clear about this concept, you can watch the video, and one more time you watch the video, everything will be clear. And if you have any doubt, you can ask me in the next class. And this concept, functions concept, user defined functions, is there in every programming language. So it is very important for you to understand what happens or how this works. Thank you.